I work for me, so I can say whatever the fuck I want to.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Fouled Out podcast presented by our main man, Sammy Speaks and Precision Suspension. We've got him here in the studio tonight. Be sure to head over there to his Facebook page and give them a like and invite all your racing friends to like their page. Because there are going to be some exciting things that are coming out of there, especially with the announcement that Mr. Excitement himself will be driving their R&D car, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show. I'm AJ Hollywood Bellinger, joined by Bell Jr. and Chad, the lying bastard. Grows tonight. Yeah. And we're joined, obviously, with our special guest, Mr. Sammy Speaks, the title sponsor of the Fouled Out podcast. Mr. Sammy, thank you so much for coming on board, man.
Yeah, thank y'all for having me.
We can all see y'all over here. Sure.
Yeah, I'll get to you in just a second. Thank you so much for sponsoring the show. You don't know how much it means to have you and your company support and trusting us in the recognition to drive people to your brand. And I encourage each and every one of you guys out there, if you're racers and if you're watching and you're looking for a new setup guru, this is your man. And I'm not saying that just because he's a title sponsor of this show. I'm literally also a paying customer. So be sure to head over and give their page a like. But without any further ado, how's everybody doing tonight?
Great, man. Obviously, I'm about 3 in.
3 in? Oh, well, you ain't
trying to catch up with Rooster and Henry from the weekend.
Yeah.
We froze up over here.
That's right. Mr. Sammy, man, thank you for coming on the show.
I appreciate y'all having me here.
So let's go in and get into some things, man. So you've done all kind of races. You got over 28 years of experience in racing, and that includes, you've done some NASCAR stuff between the truck, the cup, the nationwide series. Tell us a little bit about Precision Suspension.
Well, after doing the cut, bush, truck stuff, ARCA stuff, all that stuff for quite a few years, we kind of got settled into the suspension type environment. And just decided to go off on my own and start my own company. This is after I'd worked for Olin's for a while, and just decided to do my own thing and try to go help the short track racers.
Nice. Well, what do you think one of the most important or overlooked things on suspension wise is in the racing world today? You've got your the oil in the shocks that has to be changed every so often. What is it that maybe people don't do enough of?
Well, I think the biggest thing that a lot of guys miss is just maintenance in general, whether it be on their shocks or on their car in general. It's it's real important to keep that stuff clean, make sure it's good and straight week in, week out. Maintenance is probably to keeping your stuff good and not having to rebuild it as often as you would think if you got a good maintenance program.
Nice. How often should someone actually be sending their stuff back?
Well, if you're talking about just a freshening type environment, if you keep your stuff up, you literally should be able to get half the season.
Really?
And half the season saying, a guy's going to run 20 to 25 races or so, so 12, 15 races into it, you probably should look at getting your stuff redone. The next step to that is things will change dramatically, valving-wise, in 12 or 15 weeks. Anybody that's doing enough testing or working with enough guys, most guys are not going to throw names around and say, hey, I did this with this guy or this with that guy. That's really not the right thing to do. But if you're working with some pretty high-end type environments, your stuff's going to progress pretty quickly. So I would suggest, the biggest thing that could help the racers out is try to keep, a set of shocks or a couple of shocks at your shock guy's place so he can be trying to make your program better as time progresses.
Kind of like that quick turnaround too. If you were to have one get damaged, you've already got one right there ready to send out.
And believe it or not, the way things are now with parts availability, you hear about it with wheels and motor parts and all this. It's no different in the shock industry.
Yeah.
If you're not careful, you'll get yourself in a pinch, and it's liable to take a couple of weeks to get your parts and get your stuff put back together.
Yeah, I'm so happy that we went ahead and got our whole package done way ahead of time. We started with you last year. Is there, as far, I know everything is, there's so much technology nowadays. Do you feel, I know we talked about this earlier before the show, and there's people say that the shock packages and on the shots, the cost of them is getting out of control. What do you have to say to that?
I don't feel like they're getting out of control. I feel like the racers maybe should educate themselves a little bit more, maybe do a little more checking behind on what things are actually costing. The racing industry in general has always been, nobody's really buying things at retail because there's markup. Everybody has a different price.
Right.
So I don't think they're out of hand myself. I do think, things may be getting sold for more than they should. The racer really needs to do a little bit of homework on his own and determine, just how much stuff really is, I think.
Right. You guys got any questions for Sammy?
No, but I'm saying so too. A lot of these guys don't understand the R&D and stuff that you have to put in to build your shock program.
Yeah, it's nobody really understands. Like the longer you work on a shock or a set of shocks, in theory, the better you're going to be able to make them. So if you call up your shock guy and you say, "Hey, I got to have my stuff by Wednesday," well, he's going to do the best he can do by Wednesday, and I'm sure it's going to be a good job. But if you ordered it 2 weeks ago and told him I need it by two Wednesdays from now, I kind of feel like you're probably, on our part of it, you're going to have a better end product.
Right. What with speaking of technology and stuff, some people are saying that scales, the old scales, like grain scales, like we used to use, now we got electronic scales and stuff, but everybody's going to these, the smashers now, and with the modified, you got your load sticks, and there's pull down rigs, and if I'm not mistaken, you've got a lot of technology in your shop that you've recently purchased. What kind of stuff can you do exactly up there?
We've actually kind of started what we feel like is a state of the art, R&D facility, so to speak. So we have a pull down rig, which is not the same as a normal pull down rig. We can actually run wheel pans up and down, to simulate track data through that rig. We have load machines, we have shock dynos, obviously. There's really not anything that we can't measure and then duplicate in the shop for continuous making headway, for whatever your program is.
Well, now, do you, when you go out, say, R&D or testing and stuff, how do you get the data from the, what you get out there on the track back on to that pull down rig?
You basically can, we'll test with that acquisition. Everything will be loaded on the computer, and then you just jump drive it, onto a jump drive, and then the actual pull down rig, you put that jump drive in, and it'll simulate a lap if you want.
Really?
Or
like real time, like live?
It won't be as real time as what you would think, but it's a little slower than real time, but you can, now our wheel pan stuff can be real time. Mm-hmm. We can take one corner, pull to a given displacement, and then actually run real time with that.
I guess that helps out a lot on like right front stuff.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It's not what the pit area thinks going on.
Right.
That's for sure.
Did that stuff trickle down from like NASCAR, being that you have some experience with NASCAR?
So just being involved at that level for all those years, and then working for a shock manufacturer, and then being part of the JRI thing from the beginning, we've got 7-post time, KC rig time. We know the value of those things, and being able to bring that to the short track industry is pretty important for us. to try to help everybody's program.
Right. When you are out there testing, I guess this is going back to asking that same question, or maybe not necessarily just testing. Say that one of your clients or your customers calls you on a Monday and they kind of do like a debrief with you, of the race that past weekend. What are some of the things that maybe you're looking for to hear from them versus maybe them just calling and say, man, it was loose. And, I mean, they could be loose in a bunch of different places,
Absolutely.
Anytime a new guy gets on board, there's a learning process, and we expect to get certain information back when you do call Monday. You can't just call me and say, well, we were loose, because we'll start asking you questions. Well, how much right rear travel did you get? How much right front travel did you get? Mm-hmm. Why didn't you fix the travel in the right rear? How much drop you got? A lot of racers kind of miss a lot of those things in the heat of the battle. And those are things you got to stay on top of, so you don't have to call the shot guy Monday and tell him how loose you were.
Right.
Hell yeah.
I wonder sometimes, do they call the carburetor guy and tell him how loose they
yeah.
were?
No.
Yeah.
No.
And guys, also be sure to go over to Precision Suspension. I'm gonna get that down, man. It's a tongue twister for me. But go over there and give him a like. We're working on getting his Facebook page going. We're updating it, so keep an eye out for that. Now, you had Jeff Parsons was down at Volusia. Was it?
He was helping one of our guys at Volusia, and then the following week, I think it was the following week, he went to East Bay and ran his modified.
Right. And now some of the accomplishments and stuff that you've had is that you have back-to-back Carolina Clash championships.
Wow.
Back to, or let's see, it was National Naismith Championship.
Yeah,
right.
We've won back-to-back Naismith championships at back-to-back Carolina Clash. We won the Carolina Clash and the Ultimate Championship in the same year. We won the Knoxville 40,000 to win, the Topless 40,000 to win. We pretty accredited, right. I guess you would say.
Yeah. So I mean that right there, guys. I mean, you go right on to his page. Go ahead and get the number. If you don't have it, I can get it for you. 704-746-8547. Get a call in and go ahead and get on the list, because I'm sure he is stacked on jobs coming up, and you're going to want to have them fresh here. What's going to be your first race? Or do you go down and help customers at the track?
We do. We typically try to choose the tracks where we have several guys, mm-hmm. But we're not opposed to identifying a new market, going in there and right. trying to make a difference in a new market also. We spent a lot of time down in the Mississippi, Alabama area in years past and done real well down there. We literally can go anywhere.
Right.
Fayetteville, AJ, Fayetteville.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna want you down here in February.
Well, it kind of looks like you got to come to Fayetteville to see if your stuff's any good.
Yeah.
oh shit.
Well,
I'm talking about.
Hey, I think 602 Crate Lake Model is going to be a weekly class. Well, I know it's going to be a weekly class there. Of course, they got some limited races. They got it's I-95 Challenge rules on that limited late model race coming up.
Yes. Yeah,
on February.
The one that we're going to do
the King of the Cushion.
Or the King of the Cushion.
Yeah. So, and speaking of that, by the way, guys, if you are one of the people that sponsored some money for the King of the Cushion, go ahead and get up with either me or Bill or Chad, so we can get that money.
Not me.
So we can get that money paid up. We want to make sure that we get that taken care of before that race gets here. Also, if you're a driver that's going to be accepting that Pro Challenge, we're going to need to know by Friday whether you're going to do it or not. It can't be where you go out and qualify and you're almost at the back and say, oh, well, I'm going to go ahead and start at the back. So if you want to go ahead.
So we know that Willie and Christian's already accepted the challenge.
Right.
No matter where they qualify, no matter where they start, no matter what the racetrack looks like, they've accepted the challenge. The other people that the money was put up for, if they're going to accept it, like AJ said, we need to know by Friday, because obviously we're going to have to be responsible for getting all this money together.
Yeah.
And we're not going to take somebody's money if you're not going to do it. Mm-hmm. Like I said, we're not going to let you go out there and see if you qualify 15th out of 16 cars, and you say, well, fuck it, I'm going to move one spot back and go get this money.
Yeah.
It's not going to work like that.
Exactly. So yeah, make sure you get up with me or Bill, get that paid, and then also if you've got a question for Sammy, maybe something suspension related.
We got one on here right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we got a question from Shine Runners Racing Radio, and I'm assuming that's the Rooster himself.
Probably.
It says, how much do shocks play a factor in junior sprint racing?
Shocks are going to play a pretty big factor, irregardless of the series that you race. Selection, usually most series is, beginner series and on up. Sometimes they'll have specific part numbers you can select. And on a given night, depending on the part number you select, it can make a pretty big difference. We were talking about it earlier that typically you can go to your chassis builder and buy all high-quality parts anymore. Nothing really has to be built anymore by hand, or there's not as much innovation going into everything. So then the shock thing, spring thing, bump stop thing, any of that stuff comes into a bigger play. As all those standard off-the-shelf parts get better.
Right. Now, with you being a shock guy, and obviously you probably work with them all, is there one brand that maybe you gravitate more towards, or you kind of you'll build whatever, or that you recommend for a guy, or for a different situation, maybe one for asphalt and one for dirt,
There's certain situations that certain manufacturers in a sense don't have the right parts and pieces for. So depending on my customer, what he's trying to do, what his program looks like, you about have to select the right stuff that fits his program inside his box, and then the next guy will be completely different. There's definitely something to the parts and pieces on the inside. A lot of guys want to look at a dyno sheet and say, well, this shock and this shock's the same, but it's just like your load numbers that everybody talks about. Everybody can end up at the same load, but how you got to that load is more important than the end result. A dyno graph, you can pick numbers out from a dyno graph, and everybody be the same, and one car be fast, one car be terrible.
Right. Well, and like we were talking earlier, you said that you had worked with two big name drivers before. Both started on the exact same thing, exact same car, all that. And within 2 hours, they were in completely different left field, but turning the same lap time numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not two drivers. I don't feel like there's two drivers that's going to drive the same. And then when you throw in the conditions that they're driving in, everybody's going to approach the mud a little different. And then everybody's going to approach the slick a little different. Racing typically is about segments, and every driver is going to be stronger in a certain segment, and that's where he's going to make his speed up. Everybody's not the same speed on entry and exit and down the straightaway. One driver will beat you getting in, another guy will beat you middle off, and the setups kind of revolve around that.
I know that's one thing with me. Like, they're always telling me I'm going in way too low. Notorious.
Bottom feeder himself.
Notorious for going in low. But now in that last race I did move up, and it really did come around.
Fast.
I don't know, maybe I've got some depth perception going on or something like that. So and I also want to give a big shout out. He just popped in to Dirtman Photography. If you guys saw that flyer that we put out, that was from Dirtman Photography. He was nice enough to loan us a picture to use, and I want to make sure you guys go over to his Facebook page and give him a like, as well as go to his website, dirtmanphoto.com. Appreciate you, man. I really do.
And we got somebody on here that asked, we got a couple questions on here, actually.
Okay.
Billy Williamson said, what time can we expect Dalton on? Dalton will be on probably in the 8:45-ish range.
Right.
I'm sure that's what we're shooting for right now. And then Carla Martin says, I guess this is a question for Sammy, so wedge doesn't matter anymore.
Well, I'm sure it matters. Does it matter, what wedge number are you talking about? You talking about the sitting on the scales? You talking about dynamic wedge? The wedge that you see on the racetrack, very few people have a clue of where that even is. It takes a wheel input to create a load. So unless you know exactly where your wheel inputs are, out on the racetrack, you don't really know if you're gaining wedge or losing wedge by a tremendous difference. It could be gaining wedge this minute, and it could be losing wedge in the very next few feet.
I remember, speaking of wedge, I remember Dad used to set it. I mean, this was a long time ago now. This was back in the 90s. But they would put a jack under the rear end, and they would jack it up, and then watch, when the tires come up, and then they had like a half-inch socket or something. There was something that they used. That's how they would set the wedge in the car back then.
Jenny Godbolt said, Fayetteville is a track you most likely run at the bottom. I'd have to disagree with that.
Yeah, I think this year
I think the middle groove has always been the best groove there since the new configuration has come around. Mm-hmm. That's been the fastest groove. But what we're searching for is a cushion, and we've been told by Dave Mitchell and his Wayne Gray Jr., Freddie, everybody that they're going to do what they have to do to get us a cushion up there on top of that racetrack, so we can have some 2 and 3 wide racing.
I was out there today. It looked a little different than it did last year.
Does it? Mm-hmm. Are we going to get Mr. Excitement, Jeff Parsons, down here to race with us?
We're definitely coming down here.
Y'all going to come down and take all the money in February?
Well, I don't know about taking all the money, but like I said, it kind of sounds like a bunch of heavy hitters down here at Fayetteville. So I guess you got to come down here and prove yourself.
Yeah,
show out.
Well,
I'm gonna let you read that question up there, Sammy. Up there because you over there where you can see it better than me. The Carla Martin just said, I don't understand what she's asking, but
let's see. When they set it so the car wouldn't run too tight or too loose.
I think she meant to say set up, but she said set it.
Yeah, when they set up.
I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You might have to rephrase that one for Carla. Can't really figure out what you're saying on there. But how generally, if someone were to contact you, I know you said probably, when you were using an example earlier, you said 2 weeks, but how long does it typically take you to, say, for a new package to get it ready? I know with parts delays right now, everything is kind of crazy, right. But,
It's safe to say most everything is about 3 weeks out, and we hadn't really got into the racing and wrecking season. So
yeah, exactly.
No doubt.
Let me ask you this too, and see if I was understanding what you're saying. Because we talked a little bit before we come on the show. We talked a little bit about basically when you build a set of shocks, you start at a point, but then you try to perfect those shocks to that driver.
Yeah, if you work with anybody for any length of time, you're going to develop. He's going to develop a feel or problems in a certain condition, and then you kind of tune around that condition. At the same time, when you look at a shock graph, you kind of have in your mind what you want this picture to look like, so to speak.
Gotcha.
And it's pretty hard to get that picture, that perfect picture, in a short amount of time. So the longer you give your shot guy, probably the better result he's going to give you as far as, all of us have kind of a standard build. And everybody wins races with their standard build.
Well, and we was also talking about that earlier where a lot of the big name cars now, you see a majority of them out there's got Bilstein right across the back of them. But Overton's fucked the whole country up on Penske's.
Yeah, he's he's done pretty well for himself.
You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
So that's and like you said, it's all according to what that driver wants and what he gets. Because once you get to a certain point, I'm sure the fine tuning parts is what takes over then. What'll always hold true is all the good drivers and the good teams will always win all the races. Nobody's come out with the latest and greatest trick that they gave the guy in 15th, and then he started kicking everybody's ass.
Yeah.
So as things are developed and things are given away, in the racing industry, some of the companies you'll see be dominant for a couple of years as they're saturating that market. And then they kind of like fall by the wayside and somebody else starts saturating that market. So it's really hard to gauge your program off looking at somebody else's program when you don't know all the choices that they're making.
And that's what I said about, like you said with Brandon. You will use him for an example because obviously if you say late model dirt racing right now and you don't say his name, then you don't know shit about dirt late models.
You know, I have this conversation all the time with people being from, you know, from where we are. And so, you know, people say, well, what about Bilstein? What about Bilstein? Bilstein, they have great product. But if we want to base it off of what's won the most races and won the most money, it's not Bilstein.
It's Penske.
So a lot of times is power by numbers.
Right.
So I would almost bet you that if we go World Outlaw Racing, a Rocket's going to win and it's going to have Integras on it.
Right.
You know, if we go Lucas Oil Racing, I'm about guarantee you that it's going to be a Longhorn with Bilsteins on it. Right. So it ain't that hard to figure out
unless Overton
decide to show up.
Yeah,
that's right.
So with that being said, you're saying that we're like I said, we're using Overton as an example here, so we'll stick with him. He wins in any fucking thing you put him in. He won in his own shit. He won in Joy's stuff with Harold, and now he's dominating in Wales and stuff. And you know, but the point that goes back to every single one of them is Brandon.
Right. And Brandon's got good people around him. You know, I know, and all those good teams have good people around them. Yep. So it's real hard to pick material things to say this is better or that's better. All that stuff wins races on any given night. Case in point, you could put some pros on a car on a Masters built, for instance, an old Masters built, and
shit.
you might be able to.
You throwing jabs here?
You might be able to win that night. You know, it's just a matter. It's a matter of how hard you gotta work your ass off to get there.
So all of us went to Bristol for the speed weeks down there when they put the dirt on Bristol Motor Speedway, and we watched Kyle Busch jumping Jonathan Davenport's backup car. Well,
put on a show.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely put on a show, but he went from. I mean, I'm assuming he didn't get a lot of testing in before Bristol, because he went from basically looking like a monkey fucking a football to fast, finding speed, and I think that's like you were talking earlier. You can take two drivers and put them in the same race car and not get the same result. Mm-hmm. That car has to be set up to the feel of the driver. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody's box is usually pretty small, right? So you'll call up your chassis builder and he'll give you a baseline, and then you'll talk to your buddy, and he's got a different chassis and it's a different baseline, and he outruns you every week. Well, most racers feel like they can't get out of their own little box. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've got it just like the chassis builder said, do it. And a lot of times that's not the scenario that you need to be working around. Most all those chassis builders, they're running World Outlaws, Lucas Oil, whatever, right, and the tracks are prepped for that event that week.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying Fayetteville or Friendship or Gaffney, whatever, is not prepped to that same magnitude. Right. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot different when you're weekly racing or regional racing than when you are Lucas Oil or World Outlaw racing. You'll have to do things weekly racing that you wouldn't even think about doing World Outlaw or Lucas Oil racing, just because the track doesn't get that bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's in the middle of July around here. Yeah. The promoter probably don't have enough water to put on the racetrack.
Yeah, no, we've actually run into that. The pond out of Fayetteville went dry a couple of times,
and it's you really do got to think about the obstacles you're up against, and you got to adjust your situation the best you can on that.
Yeah,
I bet some bitch goes dry in February. 22nd through 26th.
And it probably won't.
Yeah, no, I doubt it in February.
So, AJ, you want to bring Daulton in now, Daulton Wilson?
Yeah.
And I'm sure Sammy and Daulton can probably chat it up, too, while Daulton's on the show.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and bring him in now. Daulton, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, man. Hey, well, so look, I mean, not like you need any introduction or whatever. Yeah. Been doing really well on the Lucas Oil Tour, man. You are officially running for Rookie of the Year there, right?
Yep. So that's the plan right now.
Right, and you're coming off of a top 10 last night. You've had some good races that you put together. And I'm honored to say that I actually raced against you too, man. I raced against somebody famous.
Damn right.
Well, I don't know about all that, but yeah, we had a pretty good night last night. It didn't start off the greatest, but we were able to work through and win the B main and going through the field there for the feature. So so far we've had we've had a pretty good speed week so far.
Hell yeah.
Well, the thing with that stuff down there, all that stuff's new to you. And so it's like anywhere else, it's going to take time. So we're expecting when you get them back down here towards the south, this way, up towards the north from where you're at now, but still in the south, we expect you to start kicking some ass up here.
Ass whipping's a well car.
I'm gonna put it out there and put some pressure on you. I'm gonna say that you're gonna win at least two Lucas Oil races this year, and I'm gonna say hands down that you're gonna be the rookie of the year.
That would definitely be nice. That's a good goal to have, and for going to Volusia and Brunswick, and I haven't raced at any of these racetracks down here ever. In the past, to come out the gate and be able to make races and compete right out the box, with a new team, it's definitely been a good confidence booster, but it's also been a good step in the right direction to be able to come out the gate and be able to make races right out the gate.
So I've talked to you a little bit while you've been gone, and I talked to you while you were here, obviously. But so you were sort of lucky, and I'm not saying it like this, so don't take it the wrong way. But what I'm saying is you were sort of lucky falling in with James Ratliff Racing that they run Wells cars, and that's what you run down here.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was lucky. It's more of, that's kind of what's put us all together.
Right.
We're all on the same program as far as race cars and even shocks and stuff, and we're that's one thing about with Wells and his guys. It's a pretty big group of people that are together, and that's what got us all together, and they've been a big help for all of us to really help us hit the ground running.
Right. And if I'm correct in saying this, I think Brandon was the sort of the wheel in the middle that sort of turned James, Mr. Ratliff, your way as far as giving you the opportunity to drive the Ratliff Racing Wells Longhorn.
Yeah, Brandon's been a big part of my success, and I definitely think that Brandon's probably the top driver in the country right now.
100%.
Amen.
For him to speak highly of me, and to kind of get this deal together, it definitely carried weight. And fortunately, James and the whole crowd up there were willing to listen and have an open mind about a guy that doesn't have that experience, that give a guy a chance, up and coming kid a opportunity. So it's worked out really good so far.
Well, you've worked hard, awesome. and you and your brother Ethan, took big steps. Basically quitting your jobs where you had money coming every Friday, and saying, "Hey, we're gonna follow our passion. We're gonna follow what we love. We're gonna work on race cars."
Yep.
And I know you told me that you'd never raced those racetracks down there, but I know you went down there and spent some time with Brandon. As a matter of fact, sort of riding with him and learning what goes on down there at the Lucas Oil and the World Outlaws.
Well, with Speed Weeks, you're not just racing the Lucas guys, you're not just racing the World Outlaw guys, you're not just racing the local guys. It's everybody, and you can be, it's two or three tenths between on the front row of a heat race and start
a
race. And that's, there ain't everybody that's anybody and that has any,
everybody's got good shit, right?
Yeah. There's 50 cars here every night, and 45 of them got a chance, have won a super late model race in the last year. Yeah,
right.
That the level of competition and everything down here, it just brings out all the good guys from each region come here and and have a good chance of winning.
Right. Well, that was one thing, because you guys have gone from Volusia, Golden Isle, then you Bubba Raceway, now you're at Alltech. You're going to be changing tracks constantly, obviously, on the tour, but how much do your setups change as you go to the track? Do you have a baseline that you kind of start off with, or is it you're like humping? Are you the whole time changing everything over for each different. I know Bubba's a really weird track.
Yeah, really, you find a balance with your race car that that keeps you comfortable, and you try not to veer too far off of it. Obviously every little racetrack is going to be a little different, but for the most part, you kind of what's good and what makes is comfortable for me. We just start there and tweak as the night goes. But for the most part, you start in the same ballpark. Everywhere you go.
But so you're back to your base after when you start back over at the next track.
Right.
So you've committed basically to run the entire Lucas Oil season this year. I think you got until like April maybe to declare if you're going to actually run for the Rookie of the Year. Is that correct?
Yeah, the best that I understand it, that's how that deal works. For us, the schedule of the races that we want to go race. Even after speed weeks, you got the Brownstown and Atomic and a few of them races there that being the Ratliff guys are out of Kentucky. Those are races that we're going to want to race anyway. So we went ahead and committed to this deal to start with, and we're going to carry it out and just kind of see where it's at. There's a lot of big money and a lot of good races this year that you really don't have to be committed to a series and still race for a lot of big races for a lot of money, and just keeping everything open, and you just got to do what makes sense with the parts situation and motors and cars, and you just don't know what the future what it's going to be like 3 or 4 months down the road. So just plan it the best you can and just see what makes the most sense as we go.
So speaking of motors, I know here, because I'm involved with a little bit of drag racing and stuff. I mean, you've had this conversation before. I know here your motor builder is Titan, and that's the Gray Boys, and they come from the drag racing world. With Mr. Ratliff, I think y'all running Pro Power,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
What's the difference when you talk about all your different motors, your Cornettes, your Clements, your Durhams, your Pro Power, your Titan, or Mr. Bob down the street? What's the difference in the motors that you've seen, Dalton, as far as like the feel like you have when you're in the race car?
Yeah, for the most part, I mean, there's not a bad engine guy anymore. Everybody's working on the same platform, just like race cars and shocks and everything else. Everybody's got their own little twist and tweak that in certain situations they're going to shine in, but there ain't a bad engine builder out there. And like I said, all of our stuff is my stuff's Chevrolet, wide bore motors that are built on the same platform that this Pro Power stuff is, and I've noticed that the Pro Power stuff is a lot more smoother, and maybe not as erratic and quote unquote big,
Right.
and jumpy, but at the same time, come feature time, it's a lot smoother and and drivable.
Right. Gotcha.
So being out there on the road, and obviously you need a lot of help. And as you say, Ethan is out there with you. But how great is it to be able to accomplish the goals together as Wilson Family Racing, and then not only as brothers and kind of live out this childhood dream together. I mean, I didn't grow up with a brother. Of course, I got 3 sons, so I try to be like, man, y'all got your best friends as your brothers. Like, what's that like being out on the road with your brother?
Well, it's you got your best friend, you got your biggest fan, and nobody wants to see me do better, do good, worse than he does. And at the same time, it's it's the same the other way around. I want to see him do good and continue the business that we built together, and him to be able to continue to race and go. And he's here with us through speed weeks, but just as quick as we get done in Florida, he'd be right in there with the modified North Carolina speed weeks there at Fayetteville, and we'll be there. And it's we try to we stay busy and we stay going, but at the end of the day, we're both right there, trying to help each other be the best possible.
And like I said, speaking of that, he's got a deal down here where I think he's going to run the entire Mid-East Modified Series, right?
That's his plan. He drove for a little bit for Mackey last year, and
You're talking about Mackie Cox.
Mackie Cox has given him a great opportunity there, and I think they're gonna put that out there as a goal, and really try to follow that tour and support Jason with Mid-East, and obviously that deal starts at Fayetteville that first week, and he'll be able to follow that, and while I'm out racing, and he'll be able to do the same thing.
Right.
Awesome.
Hey, I've always told people down here, well, since I've got to know you, I said that if I ever won the lottery, I said I'd give that boy a Lucas Oil ride. I guess Mr. Ratliff sort of beat me to it. but if I win the lottery, me and him's gonna fucking bid for you. We're gonna have a cash war.
Well,
But
instead of bidding, we might just have to join it all together.
yeah, just team it all up.
Nice.
So hey,
That much better.
I know you had a accomplishment this week. Also, in one of those races, I think you got the highest finished rookie bonus.
Yeah.
Right? Which race was that?
That was the first race at Golden Isles. So we actually won a heat race, which is my first Lucas Oil heat race. And I slipped up on one of the restarts, and we kind of got shuffled back and was able to race back up through there. And that's a big thing racing with these guys is they're not waiting on you. They're not waiting around for you to get your stuff back together. You slip up.
Yeah.
They're
gonna pounce on your ass.
Well, I think that I think so. It's a different style racing too, because basically y'all are racing for your paycheck.
Well, that's 100%. I mean, that's at the end of the day when you get to these races, everybody here is racing for a paycheck. They're racing for a percentage, and one position makes a difference. And you got an opportunity, you got to take it. If there's a gap, you got to fill it. There ain't no, we'll let him get it gathered up, and we'll try again next. No, it's if there's a hole there, you got to take it because everybody's so close. They're not going to make that same mistake more than once or twice. You got to go when you can.
So you saying them guys don't give an inch?
No. If you're giving, somebody's taking. And the saying of you give an inch, they take a mile. That's if they know you're going to lift and they know you're going to move over, then it's like everybody just they know who they're racing with, and as long as you stand your ground, and go after it, everybody, you have to know who you're racing with, but
Right.
time, they're not waiting around to say, oh, he messed up, let him get it back together. It's let's go.
Well,
Yeah.
Dirtman Photography just put a question on here, and he said it's for Dalton. He said, "What's your take on Volusia and the new surface?"
So Volusia, really threw us a curveball. Not that we'd ever been, but it wasn't the Volusia that I expected it. That I expected it to be, and I think they got a good thing there. They got a good deal going, but I don't know if the weather, how the weather was prior to us going down there, or what. But we wound up not even racing the crate car the rest of the week while we were down there because it just didn't, the weather and everything just didn't seem to play out to where it was very smart to run it. But hopefully they get it. I know they've been working hard on it since we were there, and by the time we go back, I figure they'll have it dialed in for sure.
So you're gonna get a kick out of this one here. The ice cream man Daniel Parker just said, "Who's Daulton Wilson?"
Hey, tell him the guy that set that car up for him.
So this is actually Carlos Schuler asked, "How is it to race against the mailman?" But I'm going to kind of elaborate on that as a I've watched you grow up racing. I mean, I remember when you and Young Guns, and we've watched you. But how is it to go when you're running against like some of the biggest stars, some of the guys that you've idolized and you grew up, watching them race, thinking, man, I want to be there one day, and now you're throwing slide jobs on them.
Yeah, it's you it's a childhood goal, a dream really. And, it's something that we've worked really hard for. And, 10 years ago, did we think it ever would get to this point? Probably not. But, it's just a testament to me and my brother and, our families and everybody that's helped us and stood behind us along the way. We've had really good people behind us the whole time. And, we've had great opportunities, whether it be, with Greg and April with the Honeycutt deal and, even back driving for Corky, or Randy Clary, there's been a lot of people that have helped us along the way that, if it wasn't for each and every single one of them, we wouldn't, you wouldn't be here.
Well, that's what a lot of people don't know about you. Like I said, a lot of these guys that see you now, they don't know that you were working out of your pocket. You and your brother both working at Hendricks, working out of your pocket trying to run these cars, and we're super competitive. Won races, basically financing it out your family's pocket.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I know you had help, but I'm saying for the most part, out of y'all's pocket.
Well, that's just it. Me and Ethan's biggest supporter has been our mom. And she's sacrificed a lot for us to, to be able to just commit to focusing on a dream that, that we had our head down and what we were trying to accomplish. And, we were, if it got made Monday through Friday, it went into the race car and just, being able to do the very best you could. And, luckily for us, people took a notice of that and we were able to catch some lucky breaks, but also had, people that realized how hard we were trying to do with what we had and got behind us. And everything's been a stepping stone along the way, but, we've had a group that's I think it's just grown. It's not anybody that's in the past. It's, everybody, the group that's been behind us that just continues to grow. And, I think that's been a huge part of why we've been successful is, everybody plays a role and, we just put our head down and get after it.
Right.
Hell yeah.
So, go ahead, AJ.
Oh, I was gonna say, Sammy, you got any questions? I hate to act like we're hogging the mic or anything, but I mean, somebody that probably knows how they set these things up. Is there any questions maybe you have for them?
No, I don't have any questions. I think it's outstanding that you can go down there for the first time. I've been going down there for over 22 years, and for you to be able to go down there and be competitive and stand your ground, it's stay positive on your ability because it's pretty tough to do, and you're doing an outstanding job.
Thank you.
Hell, I got my wife to watch last night, Dalton, just because you were racing. I mean, that's fucking awesome.
So,
I need
Elvin,
to get her to give some money.
Elvin Matthews said you got good training at Hendricks, and he said he made you eat too much.
Well, Elvin's a big boy.
Yeah, but so Dalton,
Go ahead.
no, go ahead and say what you're gonna say.
So I actually had an interview for like an internship at Hendricks. I knew of Elvin Matthews, but I mean, we'd never met before. And I walked through the shop and they said, "Oh, that's Elvin. That's Elvin Matthews. He's going to be the guy who's going to be training." And we talked like we had known each other forever. And Elvin, just has been a huge part of working and even racing. That was pretty cool.
So I know you've had a lot of big wins, you and Ethan personally. But I'm gonna bring back a win that I probably seen a smile on your face, probably bigger than if you would have won the race. You set up a particular gentleman's car, and he went straight out, as far as I know, the first night and just dominated. You and Ethan, Mike Freeman, Lakeview. And I'll never forget, you were walking back from the corner, and I met you, and the smile you had on your face. I mean, you were so happy for him, I mean, I probably will never forget it, especially with with the passing of Mike. I'm sure that will probably go down, no matter where you go in racing or how far you go in racing or how many races you win. I'm sure that will go down as probably one of the highlights of your work.
Yeah. Well, that's what, it's crazy. I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason, and, the good Lord above's got a plan no matter what. And, that particular night we had been racing, we had run the World Outlaw race earlier that week at Gaffney, and, we had, me and Ethan had gotten to be really good friends and, really pretty close with Mike. And, something told me to be there that weekend. And, the car, he had some issues with the car, and everybody that knew Michael, if Michael had a problem, he wasn't going to tear his race car up. And, that night he said, we got a good car, I'm going to run it. And, he run it, and that being his last race, that's definitely a special thing for me something told me to be there, and I was glad I could be a part of it that night. And, definitely, weeks later, when we won the race at Cherokee, the prelude race, the night of his viewing, we definitely feel like that we had somebody riding with us that night.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think he led that thing from green to checkered that night, didn't he?
Yeah, he said quick time, and he led every lap.
Yeah.
We got a seat. We bought a seat from him.
Yeah, in fact,
that just really changed it out, but it's in the trailer.
Sitting in our trailer. In fact, it's the seat that come out of the car that he bought from Mackie.
Yep.
When we got into the Legends, I put on Facebook that I was looking for a seat, and he messaged me and said, "Man, come over here. I got one that I just took out of a car." Of course, he said it's too small for me, and
it was way too big for me.
And
obviously,
so we come over there and he hooked us up on it, but So you're at Alltech now, correct?
Yep.
And so y'all start racing there tomorrow night?
Correct.
Okay. Y'all got any questions for Dalton?
No, man, I just want to say, keep doing what you're doing. We're proud to call you a Fayetteville guy and see you out there. So keep doing what you're doing, bud.
All right. Dalton, Andy White, he just put a comment. He didn't ask a question. He just, you can read it for yourself there. I think is it coming across your phone?
Yeah.
It says Dalton and Ethan, I think he meant to put fielded a car. My son and
friend, and they kept him interested in racing.
Okay, friended.
Yeah, when another person almost ruined his love for racing. So.
Well, that's good, man. And like I said, I know that you're going to do big things, because I know the drive and the push that you and Ethan both have to it. And I'm sure Ethan's your biggest critic too. I'm sure when you slipped up and jumped up there to the high side the other night, I'm sure he was waiting for you at the car to tell you about it when you got in. But like I said, we all pulling for you here, and you're gonna have to bring that Rookie of the Year title back to Fayetteville. And it ain't too much to ask, for a couple of those wins, because I know you got speed, I know you got great equipment. I know it's a learning process for you, but I feel like that you're gonna do big things. I feel like you're gonna do well. I think Mr. Ratliff made an awesome choice when he chose you.
Well, before we let you get out of here, man, you want to, let people know if you got any shirts, thank you sponsors, different things like that.
First of all, I got to thank, like I said, my brother and my family, my mom and everybody that's helped us, and, everybody that's been a part of my deal, coming through, and, with Greg and April and Wyatt at, with Hardison Suspension Technologies, Penske Shocks, New Point Lighting and Design. Wayne's been a really good friend of ours. Eric and Brandon and the entire Wells crowd. They've played a big part in getting me to where I'm at. Definitely couldn't do it without them. Miller Brothers Racing, Bo Miller. He's been just a great family friend of ours the whole time, and has supported us, for several years now. And all of them guys, everybody, that, Tabitha at Redline, she supplies a lot of guys around home with fuel and, parts and stuff. And, just everybody around home that's helped us get to this point. And, then James and his entire family and, his team up here and, Gullet and the guy, Dustin's down here with us and, his crowd, everybody that's a part of their racing that supports them. And, it's just been a great opportunity that, we come down here with just the, wanted to see how it was going to go and see if we can all get along. And I mean, we're really, we're all pretty, jiving and gelling pretty good. And I mean, we're laughing and joking and having a good time. And that's the big thing is, we're down here. It's a job, it's business now, but we're still having a good time with it. So, that part's, it's been really enjoyable being down here.
Heck yeah, man. Well, if you guys can, make sure that you go and check out Dalton's Twitter. That's where you keep all your updates and stuff at, correct, man?
Yeah, we try to do Facebook as much as we can, but Twitter's more of the direct line of information.
Right, and that'll be D Wilson 18D on Twitter. Go check that out, and I'm sure that they'll have some T-shirts, and when they do, let us know, man. We'll post them on the Facebook page and get everybody to share.
Can we get a fouled out sticker on the damn 18D? That's what I want to know.
I think we can probably arrange that.
Hell yeah.
Well, and like I told AJ, we're going to bring you back on here through this journey. We're going to ride this journey with you, man, and we're going to let everybody in Fayetteville know because, a lot of people here,
represent.
Some of the guys they're not going to pay for the MAV TV Plus and stuff because, some of that stuff gets expensive for the working man. But we're gonna keep you coming on here, man, and let these people ride this journey with you because we're gonna promote you and we're gonna push you to the front.
Hell yeah.
And like I said, Kip Thompson, that's what he just said. He said if this kid stays humble, he will go far. Your drive and determination is second to none. So you got a lot of people that's been around racing a long time, been around racing a bunch of years, way before you were even born, and giving you big props about how humble you are and how determined you are. And I seen it the very first time I ever met you. I think my son told you to come up to me at the racetrack, and you come up to me at the racetrack and was messing with me and asked me when I was going to put my name on your car. And
well, tell him what Scott said today.
So Scott Autry, longtime racer here. I'm sure someone that you looked up to locally as a youngster. That's what he was telling me. He said, man, he said, he called me today because he sent me a picture of us winning a race when I was probably 14. Hell, I'll be 51 next week. He said, man, he said, that Daulton, man, he said, I don't know how to go on that internet shit and all that stuff there. He said, and Rhonda don't care. He said, but he said, I always call Daniel Enos and Daniel gives me the updates on what Dalton's doing. He said, man, I just wish Lyndon and the guys that I raced for so long would have listened to me. He said, when I stepped out of that car, I told him put Dalton in that car. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but he was just bragging about what kind of young man you are. And even back then, you figure Scott's been out of the game for some years now. So you were a real young guy when he was trying to get you in that race car. But like I said, man, I know for me and these guys here, we're going to push you and promote you all we can.
Hell yeah.
Super proud of you, man. Couldn't ask for a better young man, you and your brother. This ain't just about you, your brother too, because he's making sacrifices right now being down there with you. And then he's going to have to come back and run your business here, y'all's business that you have together, D&E. So like I said, man, you'll be hearing from us, and we're going to get you back on here repetitively so we can let everybody know how you're doing. You can tell them your experience going through this because, like I said, I know every bit of it's new to you, new to the team because you're new to the team. Like I said, you're going to do big things. Like I said, I'm going to throw it out there and say that you're going to win Rookie of the Year. And if anybody wants to pick someone else over you, then I'd be willing to put a little wager on that.
He likes to gamble.
I do like to gamble. And I will gamble big on something that I really feel confident in, and I feel pretty confident in this. But I think you're going to win that Rookie of the Year I think it's going to be a landslide. And I'm just going to predict that you win at least 2 races this year. And I think that'll be a hell of an accomplishment with your first year running against the best in the world. You know.
That's right. We're gonna work hard at it. Keep our head down and get after it, and to come out of the gate, and it's just to take time and get the experience and
Yep.
get through. But I sure hope that your predictions are right. That would
I'm betting that it's going to be sooner than later.
that would make for a heck of a year, if we can do that and put that together. I think it's definitely an achievable goal, but we're going to put our heads down and stay after it. But I think we've got a realistic chance at it.
Well, like that racing, even though it's at the top level, you still watch it and you say, okay, if this guy goes to the back, he's not going to drive back to the front. Or if this guy goes to the rear, he can come back to the front and win. Or if this guy has a bad heat race or a bad qualifying session, he can go to the rear and win. I mean, you proved last night, like I said, just a few times in this race car, you started 20th after you won your B main, and you drove that car back up to 10th. So we're going to expect you, if you start 10th, to drive that thing back up to first. All right?
Well, hey, man, we appreciate you coming on.
Yes.
And guys, if you want to keep up with Daulton, like I said, go check out his Twitter, DWilson18D, and then be sure to tune in on Mav TV Plus as he takes on the Lucas Oil Regulars and Lucas Oil Dirt Series tomorrow at Alltech. You got 2 nights there, 3 nights there, and then y'all head to East Bay from February 7th to the 12th. So good luck, man, and we'll let you get out there and get back to work on that car because we know y'all are constantly doing stuff on it.
All right, I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely, man.
All right,
Good up,
man.
brother.
Thank you.
Tell Ethan we're going to have him on too.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, man. Y'all be safe.
Later, bro.
So, man, it's good to see him,
Man, that's awesome, man.
achieving a goal that,
That's awesome.
maybe one day, or that I used to have growing up. Of course, then I started having kids and
You get fit.
another
having
kid,
stock kids.
and then another kid, and then, man, what do you, real quick,
Let's go back to Sammy too before we get off.
yeah, and that's what I was about to ask them. Those guys, what are they going through parts-wise, I guess? Like, what's the difference between, say, a weekly racer like myself, updating my stuff as far as the maintenance and all that, versus, because I know you've had experience with these guys. I mean,
to put speed weeks in perspective, it's really hard for the local guy or even the regional guy to grasp what it takes to go down there. When those guys come back, it's safe to say that the chassis itself is about worn out, the engines is worn out, the transmissions is worn out. It takes its toll, and that's not really taking into consideration real bad track conditions of any kind.
right. And Bubba was or I'm not Bubba, but Volusia was rough. But that was new clay down, right?
Yeah, and like Daulton said, I'm not real sure what took place the week before with rain or anything, but when the rear wheels are coming off the ground and the motors are singing up and stuff like that, it doesn't create the best situation for a few weeks on down the road.
Yeah. And what do you think as far as, like, with all this stuff that's going on with the tire shortage? That was one thing I forgot or didn't get a chance to ask him. But how do you think that's going to affect those touring series, if at all?
Me personally, I don't think it's going to affect the touring series.
Right.
I think it'll bleed over. I think the people that will get hurt from it will be the weekly racer.
The local racer.
I really don't even see it hurting the regional racer as much. It's kind of a backward scenario depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. Do they, when they buy those tires, are they getting, I guess maybe big shipments multiple times throughout the years, or are they getting a bunch all at once, or? Well,
with the way that it all went down this year, it's different across the board. In years past, you would basically buy a decent amount of tires for what you needed recently in hopes of getting fresh tires right off the run, for the following weeks. There's a lot to be said for how fresh your tires are that you're getting ready to put on the car.
Right. I had y'all frozen there for a second.
We were froze for a minute.
I'm gonna have to upgrade my computer here. Is what I'm gonna have to work on. But it looks like it's coming back now. Banda's not gonna be happy. I'm spending more money.
Nah. We're gonna be fouled the fuck out for real.
Yeah.
Panda out.
We're gonna hold old Dalton to that too. We get ready to mail him some fucking stickers, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna need some of those panels off that door.
Oh yeah, he told me that he'll get something to us.
I really like to have that one off of McCready's from when him and Moran got together. That was a hell of a end of that race, man.
That was definitely a real
I
race.
thought Moran had it. I was like, oh, he's got it, but he drove in a little deep, got over that, the crest, and that was it. But he should have went to the bottom. Yeah. What he should have done. But I mean, it's easy to say.
Right now, today, Moran and Overton are in another fucking zip code.
Yeah, bro.
I mean, and then you can throw McCready in a little bit, but as far as them two, if they show up, the 76 and the fucking 9 are the car to beat.
I mean, Moran has been. I mean, he's been, I think, on the podium about
every night,
every race.
Yeah, every race.
But he said that he switched to Bilstein at the end of last year.
Yeah.
So he said,
well, like Sammy said,
exactly. That's exactly where I said that.
Yeah,
I bet they're selling the hell out of some fucking Longhorns. What do you think, Sammy?
I know you're a betting man. You want to bet on what shock brand wins?
No.
I will in legend cars because we can't remember one fucking shot.
But now, if Overton is at the racetrack, you can have the Bilstein guys, and I'll take old BO, and that's for sure. And the thing is with him is I said it last year, and I mean he's a grown man. He chooses to do whatever he chooses to do. But I said, damn, if he'd have run that whole Lucas Oil series last year, I mean, you don't never know how it would have turned out.
Yeah.
But fuck, man, he was on fire.
Yeah. Well, hell, in Eldora,
he was on fire.
I think you'll see a lot more of it this year than you have in years past. Guys are going to be going to race for money more so than they are about winning a title.
And they have to. I mean, those you talking about $500,000-$600,000 haulers, some cases $1 million haulers, cars. Well, I think 25,000-30,000.
We were talking earlier tonight to run a season on the Lucas Oil or World Outlaw. You said you think it's 1.2 million.
Yeah,
easy.
I think 1.2 million is probably pretty close.
Yeah, I mean that's just crazy to think of where we're at.
Top of the line teams.
Yeah, well, I think if you're going to try to do it, it's going to take that a top of the line team could probably do it for a little less after they've been doing it for a little while. But let's just say a startup team, you at least need 1.2.
Well, Dalton's not on the startup team. Mr. Ratliff's been in that style racing.
Yeah, I think they just got out of it for a little while.
Yeah, I'm just saying, what I mean by a team that's been doing it for a while, they can cut certain corners because they know things don't need to go exactly like they have to. Like used to, everybody was on a tire deal.
Right.
Now nobody has a tire deal.
That's right.
Yeah. It's
gotta pay for them.
It's the price of racing's went up.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I can't even imagine what their tire bill is
At
a
the end
year.
of the year.
Oh, shit.
No, absolutely. So do you think that was a bold prediction with me giving him 2 wins in his rookie season in Lucas Oil?
No, absolutely not.
I think that kid, man. I think that kid is hell. All the young guys right now in Lucas Oil are badass. I mean,
oh yeah.
I mean, you got 16-year-old kids. How old's Drake? Drake 16?
No, Drake's a little bit older than that, but
he can't be much older than that.
Yeah, we'll drop a little tidbit for you guys that are still watching. Drake Troutman is going to be on the show, and also Spencer Hughes is going to be on.
Yeah, then you got Spencer. Spencer fell right into that.
The PCC Motorsports.
Yeah, Pro Concrete or something, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I know Strickler was in that one at the beginning of the year, last year, I think.
Yeah, I think Strickler was leading the points when he was in that car, I think.
Yeah, I think after Volusius, or
What
Yeah,
Outlaws?
because he won what was that one race he won right at the beginning of the year or something last year.
Yeah.
My memory is terrible.
So yeah, we're gonna have some interesting.
Yeah, you
men on here.
got there's a lot of young kids, and there's actually you got some experienced guys that are on those big series that are actually still really young.
Oh yeah,
you know?
I mean you're Tyler Earls,
And
you're Devin Moran, the one that's dominating the series right now.
yeah, well,
Devin Moran.
Hudson, you got Hudson O'Neill.
I mean, it ain't like Brandon's an old man.
no,
Dalton's not old man.
If you look at the meat of the series now, the sport's going to be strong for a long period of time.
yeah,
Sir?
It's one of the best things. The last 4 or 5 years is the best thing that could have happened in the short track racing industry from the dirt side of things.
Yeah.
Some of the
So-
older guys kind of moved on,
Well-
but for as many older guys moved on, we picked up 2 or 3 younger guys for
Yeah.
every one of them guys that moved on.
But that and it's getting promoted now. It's on TV more.
Well, and you can thank Lucas Oil.
well, I
Basically, Morgan Lucas for that.
actually, you can do it, but I think you can also thank NASCAR because I think they kind of really
Realize.
messed up their
Realize.
product, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of their older fan base or their
Are coming
very
to the
loyal,
dirt.
they're coming to the dirt because they want to see those guys. They don't want to see the polished guys. They want to go out and they want to see the guys run that are kind of like me or you that'll go out there and work on their cars and stuff. You
So
know?
the Blue Ridge Outlaws late model page just put on here. Max Blair said if he buys the same amount of tires as he did in 2021, his tire bill will be $85,000 plus for 2022.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
You know, so and like I said, man, these guys have got to be thankful for these owners. That's willing to come out and play
Yeah,
with that kind of money because there's no way that they can recoup that kind of money.
no, they're not doing. Yeah, you definitely nobody races to make money.
Right. Well, and like I said, and like I said, in talking to Dalton, you know, he's like, Bell man, he's like, this is different damn racing here. He said everybody here's racing for a percentage. They're racing for a damn paycheck. They don't give an inch.
Yeah,
You know, and I mean, I get it.
And that's it's a big thing for a new guy coming into the sport to be taken in by a team that can believe in him long enough to really let him excel. The hard part is you can come in and have a limited amount of success, but being out on the road week in and week out will take its toll on everybody.
Oh, I can
take
imagine.
its toll on the driver, the equipment, the checkbook,
The families.
and to have an owner that'll stand by those young guys is the difference between a guy making it and not making it.
And that's what I told somebody today. As a matter of fact, me and Scott were talking, and I said, I hope to God that Mr. Ratliff, gives him the lead way to make a few mistakes because he's going to make them.
yeah.
I mean,
That's part of being young and
right, and not never racing at these racetracks.
right.
And not racing against these competitors.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going out here racing against the guy that's getting off work on
Right.
Friday night and stuff. These guys, when they get off of work, it's from working on the race car
They're
for
not-
the entire day.
Yeah.
From the race from the night before, a state over.
Right.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize is they look at their local series, and correct me if I'm wrong when I say this, Sammy, because you know more about it than I do. But I'm just saying this is my belief. You take the guy that's at Alltech that don't qualify tomorrow, he'd probably come here and dominate the local races.
Right.
And he can't qualify there.
Well, it says something about the competition that's in those series when you've got guys that, I mean, Jimmy Owens was running B main the other night.
Hell yeah, I saw that.
But you also see why they're so good because who was it that I think he ended up coming back to finish like 7th or something. He was in a B main. He transferred in through the B main, started like 20th.
Seven car.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Robinson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was rolling.
Ross, yeah.
So-
Blue 7 car.
I was telling, me and Chad was talking on the way here, and I said, look at Mark Whitener.
Yeah.
I think he failed the droop rule 2 or 3 times. Went to the rear. He went to the rear after qualifying, so he started in the rear of a heat race. Come up to 2nd or 3rd in the heat race. Failed the droop rule. Went to the rear in the B main
Yeah.
and come up to 2nd or 3rd in the B main.
Well, and like Sammy was saying about the comfort zone for drivers, those guys, if they ain't making it, you know, if they're not, like I think did Tyler Erb, I think he didn't make one race, if I'm not mistaken, might have not made the race one night, but then comes back and here he's, you know, I'm sure they're throwing the whole damn suitcase at it. You know, they're going to get it right. Like you said, they're racing for money.
Oh, yeah.
You'd be surprised how that stiff a competition elevates everybody's program.
Yeah.
I mean, from an owner standpoint, it'll elevate an owner to step up and do better for a guy so he can have better stuff. It elevates the crew guys and definitely elevates the drivers. It's you know, it's kind of comparable to back when the Cup drivers was running bush races.
Right.
They'd drop down in the bush races and skin everybody's ass.
Yeah.
Well, you take a guy off that, you take them guys off that Lucas tour and bring them here regionally, it won't be a race.
Right.
You know?
And two, I think that with those guys, the level of competition that they face every single night, like Kip says here in the comments, he says you got 40 plus of the best late model drivers on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, think about what goes through those guys' mind. You know, most regional racers comes from tracks that typically don't have full fields. And they can go to some big regional races and there's a full field, but can you imagine unloading for 3 weeks in a row every night in February and realizing that there's 40 people there that can get the job done?
Yeah. And there's only what, 24 that are going to make it.
The rest of you's going to watch.
Yeah.
So, what's going on in Lakeview this weekend?
Lakeview, yeah, they got the showdown, I think, with the big block modifieds that are down. Have you worked on any of those?
Yeah.
Those are now are those?
Damn!
He didn't say like that. We was too interested in that.
Well, I think aren't they torsion board? Do they run torsion boards or coilovers? All
well, they're
they've got like some weird. I haven't seen one.
They're weird, and for years when I was at Owens, that market was probably being conservative was 20 years behind.
Really?
Okay.
So things have progressed a lot though in the last little bit, and those cars are coming along pretty good.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I forgot that there was even racing going on at Lakeview this weekend, and I told Panda we'd go to Raleigh. So,
well, Leslie's birthday is Friday. I should have had Dalton give her a shout out, being that I get her to watch the race last night. Yeah. That wouldn't went over too well this weekend. But
I guess if it wasn't so cold, we probably should have been at Lakeview testing.
Yeah, we weren't even thinking about that deal. I was telling Dad.
Call fucking Ed.
I was telling him today, I was like, look, what all we got to do. Of course, he's got the car over at his house. He keeps that car at his house.
That's his baby.
Yeah, and I was like, what do we got left to do to the car? He's like, I've done everything. I guarantee he's been out there with a toothpick cleaning out crevices and welds and stuff, because that's how particular he is. That's the most particular man I've ever seen.
Clean.
Yes. Good. Yeah. So
he can come help us get done when he's done.
So AJ, before we go off the air and we leave with Sammy here, tell us what your deal is with Sammy.
So yeah, well, one obviously being the title sponsor here without out, but Sammy is also doing my package and my shocks and my suspension this year. I think we're going to try to go and test. You told me you'd let me know when we go there, but I'm really excited to see what I got, because we got those brand new Penske's, but also me and Sammy were talking, and Sammy is going to let me know, but there's going to be some kind of promotion that customers can get by mentioning Fouled Out if you go to them.
Right. So you got those Brandon Overton Pendencies. Did you build him a set of Brandon Overton?
Well, the series won't allow that.
Yeah.
Damn. That's Legends is out.
The series make rules to save money on the shock, so you can buy you $500,000 toter on.
Right.
Yeah.
They have one. They sold it.
I'm getting to be a dick.
You know what? One of the things that we do. One of the things we do as a company is we rent the racetrack,
right,
and then we invite our customers to come at no charge.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Jay Ryan, you hear this?
And we do that not necessarily at our favorite racetrack. Like I said, we'll do it at Fayetteville. We'll do it somewhere it's in the middle where more people can come. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that we've always felt like we kind of did that a lot of the other guys don't do. Right. It helps a lot.
So you're gonna try to come down here in this area and try to get in with some of the guys down here at Fayetteville? and maybe pick up some customers from down here?
In years past, we've been down here and been involved.
Right.
So, yeah, as close as and it kind of looks like with everything going on this year, there's a whole lot more reason to come this way.
I like it.
So it's gonna we're gonna be in Fayetteville a lot.
So Parsons is driving a 602 late model for y'all or a modified?
Well, what we have is we have MB Customs, 2022 MB Customs test car, basically. That our focus is to test. We'll have crate motor, limited motor, and an open motor.
Sure.
And at the same time, we're going to do a lot of testing, but a lot of the testing involves racing to verify what we figure out throughout testing.
Absolutely.
So it's a pretty big program, but we'll run several different engine combinations throughout the year.
Are you going to get that Ballinger Motorsports 24 down there on that pull down rig?
We can do anything you want to do.
Well, we're going to probably need to get it there.
Yeah. I'm excited to see how that. I've never seen one actually work in person. So.
It's just like anything else. It's all about what you make out of it. A lot of guys talk about pull down rigs and this and that and loads, and at the end of the day, how much have you educated yourself to actually make that tool beneficial?
Exactly.
That's the key.
Yeah. Well, man, hey, I really do appreciate you and your support of not only the show, but, I've talked with you on the phone numerous times when we were getting our stuff ready and we sent some stuff back to you and you said, yeah, man, I'll get it fixed. And it was right back, man. So I'm looking forward to this year, not only from the fouled out perspective of it, but to race your product, man, and hopefully bring you some more business.
We're definitely looking forward to coming in this area and trying to gain some customers and at the same time win some races.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
So I might send a set of spindles for a legend car to you, all right?
Believe it or not, that taper in those holes and those spindles, that ain't new.
I'm aware. I'm aware.
I tell you what else that wasn't new when I was racing them, because they've only got one bolt for the upper control arms. Well, I need to get some more camber, so I just dropped down, drilled my bolt, got a little more A-arm in it, and then welded my other top hole back up.
Hey, AJ, check that now.
Oh, yeah, well, you can thank me for that.
So I don't know if any of you guys have any meetings at racetracks or with promoters or anything like that, but one thing that you can do if you do happen to have a conversation with local promoters and they start talking about shock rules, try to involve
the shock guys.
I don't understand, the engine situation. If you want an engine tore down, it goes to what we deem a reputable or legal engine builder, and then another engine builder shows up to verify that. We can save the racers a lot of money by implementing the same structure.
With the shocks.
With the shocks. I mean, let's quit having all these theoretical shock rules that looks like they're saving you money, and let's just implement a certain standard of rule, and let's establish a group of people that can police it.
Right.
So Danny Yarborough says, what will a set of shocks for a Super Street cost?
It's a loaded question.
Would you like him to PM you?
Yeah, if you'll send me a message, we can talk about it. It definitely can be across the board.
Danny's a local guy here. We've known all our life.
It definitely it can be a big variance in what we're trying to do. Even for the late models, like a shock. Like for instance, there's a series that has that claim rule.
Right.
Yeah.
And
AJ knows about it.
And here's the problem with the claim rule. The parts and pieces cost one thing, right? Yeah. But then you take a group of guys, me and you, working back and forth week in and week out to make your stuff better and better and better. So all that effort, all that labor, all that talking back and forth is eliminated for $250.
Yeah.
That's that to me.
Well, the bad thing is that and the one good thing I guess is they did go up. I think I know at least in the Mid-East modified, I think they went up on the claim rule, but still, it's still not enough to cover.
How much?
I think it went up to 200 or 250. I'm not.
Per shot.
Yeah.
Per shot. It was
$1,000.
Yeah, it was $150 a shot.
Well,
which
I
was.
I can say this to you, Sammy.
Really, truly.
the easiest way to break a son bitch from claiming your shit is claim all their shit.
Yeah, well,
And we broke a couple.
we've talked about that. I mean, it's some of the guys that you talk with. They're like, well, if they start claiming shocks, we'll start claiming motors and tearing stuff down, and it might take the average guy that was going to get your shocks. It might take him 2 or 3 weeks to get all the stuff put back together.
Well,
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying. You know, hopefully the promoters will get wind
wait
of
a
all
minute.
that, and maybe we can, maybe not this year, but in the coming years, change the thinking behind that.
Well, that's one
like
good
it.
thing, and I say this every single week, that I will give Dave Mitchell with Feville. So Dave is a racer first, and then he become a promoter, and he is a shot guy with a pull-down rig and everything else. So he knows all of this stuff, you know.
Right.
And I'm sure, of course, he's going to have to follow whatever series that he has at his racetracks, rules per se, where their cars go. But he would probably be a good person to voice some of that to
Right.
some of these series guys that do, like Jason Walls and the guys
Yeah.
that run these series. Like I said, I think that we're in a good situation here because he is a racer. So
You know, all the good manufacturers are within a short drive.
Yeah.
Just have them give you a parts list
Yeah.
of what's legal and what's not, and then any deemed shot guy in our group can take it apart, and you're either right or wrong.
Yeah.
That way, you're not making. You know, the way parts are availability is now. A guy buys your stuff, you may not be able to race next week.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, matter of fact, I think they had someone was going to claim my motor last year, right before Charlotte. You know, and Jason actually put a stop to all claims because you couldn't get motors. You know, and he actually said, no, that's it. We're not no claiming.
The way that I see that is, let's either eliminate it across the board, period, for good, or leave it in place.
well,
I hate when things are changed due to circumstances.
Right.
Like if you want to be the promoter and you're going to stand on that island, then you suffer the consequences
Yeah.
of those decisions you make.
No,
Because there's
absolutely.
enough smart people in this sport. If we got together and talked about it, we could come up with a whole lot smarter solutions.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Kind of like our country too, huh?
well, it's the same thing. Like I said, and no, you know, this is not bad talking nobody. I'm not bad talking nobody, but I mean, it's because, hey, if there's a claim rule and you want to claim my shit, then that's what it is. But there was a particular car and we weren't at the racetrack at that particular week with AJ. AJ finished third.
Yeah.
And they come back there fucking claiming all kind of shit off the race car. And so he called me on the way home, and I said, well, don't worry, I'll be there with you next week. Well, then they
finished
won the
second.
race.
Yeah, we finished second.
We won.
And if they hadn't have stopped me, we'd have fucking been bringing the whole car back home.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't for anything but to prove a point. Okay, if you want to do this, then we'll see who runs out first.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they ended up being wrong.
You know,
The guy that's doing all the claiming ended up being wrong.
my whole argument with the claim thing is if you get hooked up with a reputable shot guy, he's going to go above and beyond the money that you sent him throughout the year to help your program.
Yeah.
And then so the guy that's not putting in that effort can claim that stuff.
Yeah.
It's we really need to look at some of those.
Yeah. I agree with that.
That's a question for him too. Jimmy Batten said, "Are you guys running the Steel Block Bandit series?"
We will be running some of those races.
Yeah, I think those races have got some guaranteed purses that's going to draw some people to them that maybe wouldn't normally.
So a lot of, like I said, it's a kind of a R&D type situation for us, and that Steel Block Bandit structure correlates with a lot of the Wasota stuff up north.
Cool. Okay.
So that a lot of that information will be able to be transferred back up there without too much trouble.
Hell yeah. Well,
Nice.
Y'all ready to get out of here?
I think it's about that time, man. I'm sure Panda's probably beat my kids half to death, and
So you're saying we have fouled out?
that we have officially fouled out. But guys, for myself, for Bill Jr., line bastard here, and the owner operator of Precision Suspension, Mr. Sammy Speaks. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to go over to Precision Suspension and give their page a like and follow them.
And if you would, AJ, go ahead and mention how his Facebook page is listed, so
Yeah.
those guys that want to PM him can send him a message, and he can maybe figure out what.
So we're able to update the cover photo. I checked it a while ago, so it does say, you'll see the logo in the bottom right of your screen on here now. But I think he's got his old logo as a profile picture. We'll get that switched over and get everything changed over. But yeah, definitely send him. You can PM him, send him a private message, or his number's right down there on the screen, 704-746-8547, and that is Mr. Sammy Speaks. So thank you guys so much, and we'll do it again in
Thank
2
you,
weeks?
Sammy, for coming on,
Yes, sir.
man.
Hey,
And we appreciate you sponsoring this thing here,
Hey,
man.
Oh, yeah.
Thank
You
y'all
know,
for having me.
Ain't many people give people money just to sit around and talk bullshit.
Maybe we can do it again soon.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back again, man. So, all right, guys, we appreciate it. We'll see y'all.
Thank you.
Out.